welcome to the Minding Your Business podcast. I'm CJ Jolliffe with,
Everyone's favorite co-host, Aaron
there it
Jarrell.
is.
All right. Really happy to be here. Let me just
Hey,
start with that.
I
I'm
want to I want to
super.
just apologize because what people don't know is that we missed a week. Well, they missed a week.
Yeah.
We didn't miss a week.
No.
We had a live stream, and for those of you that were on the live stream, you might have noticed that you couldn't hear me, but you could hear everything that Aaron was saying. And so we actually pulled the episode, and we're kind of rehashing some of the information. It was a really good episode. Is what's really annoying. Um, but
Yeah.
we're going to rehash some of that information to give you, the things that we wanted to give you. And then, we'll see
Yeah.
where
We'll
it takes
cut the fatty crap that we just kind of rambled about, and then we'll just put the good things back into it. But before we do that,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I've been listening to a podcast from a PhD nutritionist. We can share it. We'll put it in the notes who the guy
Sure.
is. But phenomenal podcast. Ended up getting told about it by my brother-in-law, who's like, dude, if you're not taking creatine, you're missing out, and you need to do
Yeah.
some research. Please look into it. Don't just take it, but look into it and see what it does. And after doing and listening to the podcast and then jumping online and looking at some of the studies that he was citing, oh my God, I am doing myself and all of my clients a disservice by not saying, please look into this.
Yeah.
I knew it was for working out. Like I knew the
Right.
workout stuff,
Traditionally,
right?
it's been for building muscle.
Yeah. And so all of this, there's been thousands of studies, at least thousands of studies done on creatine monohydrate.
Yes.
Okay, there's a bunch of other, mononitrate and phosphate and a bunch of different things, but the monohydrate is the one that has all the studies that shows it's been
Right.
shown to actually work. And that because there's so many studies, they figured out that it does so much more than just increase strength or increase water to the muscles.
Right.
Biologically, once they figured out the mechanism by which it does its operation and what it's used for in the cells, they realized it's not just in muscle cells. It's in
Right.
your neural cells. It's in your it helps with brain function. This was the cool thing. It helps you deal with stress, number one, and especially if you're experiencing physiological expressions of stress, it's because you're missing the creatine in your muscles as well as in your brain. So
Okay.
it helps to buffer anxiety. It helps to buffer the symptoms and depth or breadth of depression. So it helps mental health wise. It helps a lot. Plus, not to mention, like the help in clarity when it comes to thinking, because thinking in and of itself is a tiring and exhausting process, which is why most of us use heuristics and shortcuts and stereotypes to just kind of
Especially if you're an
shortcut the
overthinker.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, to shortcut the idea of thinking. And so this actually gives your brain what it needs by passing that hydrogen back and forth
Yeah.
to allow you to think without becoming mentally fatigued, which
Right.
God knows I need that. Like I spend too much all day thinking. I'm by the end of the day, I'm exhausted.
Right.
And so I think for me, I'm like, it makes sense. So I'm going to use it that way. I can share my actual experience with people. And I know everybody's different. Speaking of which, I understand when I started to mention that I saw your face.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and I think you mentioned
I've
even
got
you've been
so
working
much.
out for a while. You've been using creatine, and you
Yeah.
have a little more insight, a different
Well,
insight.
I have like career experience. So in 2009 through 2013, 14,
Okay.
I actually worked in the supplement industry, worked for a brand, All American EFX, that was owned by a manufacturer that has the patent on pH buffered creatine monohydrate. So
Okay.
I can nerd out about this. Um, Let me give you my perspective. I have been lifting weights again for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And I have been like, I haven't been taking creatine or anything because I haven't
Okay.
really been, I'm just looking for function. I'm not trying to put on
You're not
size.
trying to bulk up. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm bulky
Gotcha.
enough. I don't need any more mass. I want strength. I want function, not even strength. But
Right.
regardless, I just been, like I'm not in my 20s. I'm not trying to like impress anyone. And so I'm like, I don't need to. But I saw a similar study. It was just a picture of brain function with creatine and brain function without creatine, and the difference was astronomical. And that one little thing made me go, okay, no, I'm gonna take creatine.
Now
Um,
that's creatine supplementation. You're not talking about the actual deficit of the disease where they don't have or
Correct.
they don't extract. Okay.
Correct. Right. It was just literally like taking creatine monohydrate. Here's what happens to your brain.
When
Um,
you take it and you have enough of it in your
yes.
brain
Yeah.
and you're not depleted. Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
so I
Okay.
immediately jumped on, the creatine bandwagon again, and I can tell you the clarity of thought. Um, the
Okay.
It's funny because you said all these things that I didn't know that was a part of it, but I can tell you my stress level has been way better. You know,
Okay.
and so great experience, and also I'm getting the benefits. When I'm working out. Also, here's what I know about creatine and how it works. So essentially,
Okay.
all it's really doing is providing an extra phosphate for ADP to turn ADP into ATP, which is what you need. You need ATP for your muscles to move. So it does
Right.
this like when you're doing anaerobic exercises like lifting weights. The reason you lose strength and when you work out to failure, you can't do one more is because there's no longer any oxygen in your cell to provide that extra little P to get the ATP and to move for the muscle to contract. And so what creatine monohydrate does is it allows those extra P's uh, to be in your cell, and your cell can grab it, can use it, and you get an extra rep or two so that you tear the muscle a little bit more. And so that's how you build muscle. You tear muscle so it can repair itself and become bigger. So that's
Right.
what is happening at its basic level. That's what it's doing. So here's what I was going to say to you, like my big pitch. And I'm not getting anything from this, but I worked in, the industry for, 4 or 5 years. Um,
Right.
don't just get regular creatine monohydrate. Um, the
Okay.
problems with that is you'll be told like, oh, you need to load, so for
Mhm.
first week or two, you're taking in a lot and all this other stuff. Then you need to cycle off. That's all. I don't want to say it's garbage. I mean, everyone has their opinion, and do your own research. But um, what creatine, like pH buffered creatine monohydrate, you don't have to load, you don't have to cycle off. You can just take it. You take a lot less. What the difference is regular creatine does not make it. A lot of it does not make it into your cell. It sits on the outside of your cell. So what happens with that is you definitely get extracellular water retention. So a lot of people will say like, "Oh, I'm taking creatine, I feel puffy," because they're retaining water, and they
Right.
are. It's extracellular water, um, which is not
Okay.
attractive. It's like it takes the person that is ripped and makes them soft.
Uh-huh.
Um, so with pH buffered creatine monohydrate, it actually makes it into the cell. It makes it past the cell wall, and you do have a little bit of intracellular water retention, but all that is really doing is volumizing that cell. So your muscles will get a little fuller, but it's not water weight. It's not like puffiness. Um, and
Okay.
that's a good thing. And also with regular creatine, a lot of people have like stomach problems, cramps, and
Right.
discomfort. You don't have that with pH buffered, and you're taking. I mean, I could walk 20 feet and I could grab the bottle. You're taking like 2 capsules a day, like just regular
Okay.
capsules. You're not having to like take scoops. It's just super convenient. Crealkaline is the the brand, the actual ingredient, the patented ingredient that All American Pharmaceutical owns the patent on, and they
Mhm.
manufacture it. EFX Sports is the brand that I buy. You can get other brands, but I know a couple of guys. I know a few guys that work there, and I could probably get a coupon code. I'll see if I can get a coupon code for them for anyone that
Okay.
for you and anyone else that wants to try it. And we'll put it in the show notes to buy directly from EFX. I'm fairly certain I could do that. Still have a good relationship with those guys. One of them is
Cool.
my golf buddy that I haven't been golfing with in over a year, which is a very sad thing. But anyway, all that to say, man, I'm a huge fan of creatine because I've seen what it's done for me. I can
Right.
feel it. Again, since this has been since like November,
Okay.
and now my son is taking it. He's 16. He's actually trying to put muscle on because he
Sure.
is taller than me, and you know, I don't know. He's half of my size. He's in that he had that growth spurt where he just kinda
Shot
lengthened,
up. Uh-huh.
yeah, but now he's starting to
Lengthened.
fill out,
Right.
um, and so, I'm a huge fan. I'm excited for you to try it.
Yeah, so I'll let everybody know. I'll keep you filled in if I experience it. Apparently, listening to the podcast, the up to 20% are non-reactive, and so
Okay.
I'm hoping 20 to 30%. I'm hoping I'm not one of those. So it's about 1 in 4
Yeah,
aren't. And
yeah,
so, but they said of the three that are reactive, you get 100% benefit. Like it
right.
is night and day difference. So I remember being in my 20s when I was taking it back then, and I'm sure then I was taking the crap kind,
Yeah,
from
yeah,
GNC or something. But I felt it. I knew it was making a difference. And so I could tell the difference. And I thought, well, that was in my 20s. I was younger. I had a lot more pep. And so now I'm like, I'm
that
twice
that's
as
the truth.
old. So I just figured, well, now I'm working out and I'm just exhausted and tired all the time. And I got a brain fog. Speaking of brain fog, like I was doing hop keto last night,
Mhm.
and Master McClendon, the guy in charge, does his best to wear us out, right? And so he's like,
Nice.
when you get worn out and you get fatigued, you get brain fog. Like he knows this, and so he's like, I need you to be able to think from your lower brain, not have to cognitively think. So I want you to be able to react without having to think, wait, what move do I need to do, or what do I need to do?
Right,
And so he takes us to that stage all of the time. And it's interesting because there's one other person who works out there who's supplementing and using creatine, swears by it. And while I'm fatigued and brain foggy, they're just acting and reacting. Of course, they're younger than me too, but um, I'm like, now that I think about it, like that makes sense. If I can give myself 5 more minutes before brain fog, I'll make it through the whole workout because it's only at the very, very end where I'm just down to the wire and I've drained, and
right,
then I can
right.
see the people that haven't. So anyway, I'm interested. I'll let everybody know. I'll keep you filled in.
It's it's a fun ride. I mean, it's not like it's gonna make you feel like Superman, but you'll
No, I
feel
don't
different,
need that.
you know?
Yeah, I don't need.
Now,
I just
there
need
are
a
there
little
are
bit
things that will
better.
make you feel like Superman, but,
Yeah, and I'm not looking to do that, honestly. I just want to supplement the things that are already naturally occurring in my system that I may not be ingesting because of my diet. Now, my diet's pretty good, but
right.
realistically, according to the science, you got to eat 1 to 2 pounds of animal flesh
Yeah,
plus the collagen and other things. Okay, I'm not doing that. Like at best, I'll eat the meat, right? But I'm not
right,
eating
right.
the collagen and the fat and and the other tissues unless we're boiling it down and making bone broth. But
Sure.
realistically, that's not every day. That's like a fun
Right.
thing we do on the weekend to make, ramen or something. It
Yeah.
isn't so.
Well, and it's like, we used to say this in the supplement industry, it's to supplement your normal
Right.
diet. It's not gonna just take a bad diet and
Replace
fix it.
or yeah.
Right, yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
So
well, I'm
okay.
excited for you. I'm
Yeah,
excited
so I'll
about
keep you in the loop. Now, I know we don't have a ton of time,
yeah,
and we kind of have to do the stuff we were going to do today's episode on,
yeah,
and the good stuff from the last episode. Now, one
yeah.
of the things I think is super important for everybody to hear is we said it in the previous episode. Before that, you ran that little that spot.
Yes,
Um,
we were putting together a spot. It was actually the afternoon after we recorded the
Yes,
podcast.
and I know you keep calling it an ad, and I like the way your brain works, but it's not a paid ad. You're talking
No,
about
no,
organic ad. It's you
yeah,
made content, but
we made content.
you're right. I
Yeah.
hate calling it content. You created an ad, and
Yes,
then you're posting it organically on the social media platforms to see where you get the most traction.
right. So
And how
here's
does
the
it go?
rundown. Basically, we put it on seven different locations:
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, X, and YouTube Shorts. Sorry, LinkedIn and YouTube Shorts.
Okay.
Standard. Both YouTubes. Sorry. Um, so
Okay.
here's kind of in the order of most successful to least successful. All right.
Wait.
And this is
Now, are you running old numbers, or are these current?
these are numbers because I don't want to skew it. These are the numbers from last week. This is the first
Okay.
5 days, right?
Okay. 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 Fair.
I
Fair.
can tell you've had more traction since then.
Yeah, I wanted to
Especially
see how it phased because
yeah,
I know
especially in
there's
likes and follows. It's like, oh,
yeah,
we're starting to see those things kind of come through.
right,
Um,
right. Okay.
so this is just the first 5 days.
Okay.
So the ad was um, basically taking advantage of the inauguration. So I want to first play the ad,
Yeah.
um, and then I'll run through the numbers. How does that sound?
Well, let's
So,
find out. Last time I
all right,
couldn't hear
so
it. So,
let's bring up the screen share. And so this is for roast of the week. This is my son doing his thing, and this is supposed to be in the spirit of like a Saturday Night Live skit, but
yeah.
we're trying to ride that um, the trend of the inauguration to get some attention.
Right.
So here we go.
Okay.
My fellow Americans, I know you're all sick of the Joe you've had for the last few years. The same old, boring, stale Joe, only good with a scoop of ice cream. The kind of Joe that promises big things, but always leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth. But I have great news, tremendous news. The time has come to make coffee fresh again. Introducing the Future Looks Bright blend from Roast of the Week. This is not your typical weak, low energy coffee. No, no, no. This is coffee that wins. It's a bold, bright blend from Costa Rica and Colombia, two incredible coffee growing nations, by the way. And let me tell you, folks, it's fresh. So fresh, very fresh. We're talking roasted to perfection, never burnt, never charred, and delivered just 3 to 5 days after roasting. You're not getting stale, old, past its prime Joe. You're getting the full flavor of freshness. And because we love great deals, we love them, I'm giving you an offer that's huge. Go to roastoftheweek.com and use the code FutureLooksBright to get 20% off the 16-ounce bag, plus free shipping on orders over $50. You'll save so much money, you won't believe it, not in the slightest, not at all. Some people are saying, sir, this is the best coffee deal, maybe ever. And they're right. So don't settle for stale Joe. Get the Future Looks Bright blend today and experience coffee the way it was meant to be. Fresh, bold, and full of winning flavor. America deserves better coffee. Let's make coffee fresh again.
Okay, so there we go. That was the ad,
Uh-huh.
and so we shared at those places, and I'm going to give you a rundown of what we got in views and engagements and that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
Facebook, we had 725 views. This is again the first 5 days.
Okay.
229 engagements. That's really good, especially for us.
Okay.
62% were with non-followers, and a total watch time of 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that
What?
is
How
way
about an
better than what we
average?
did in Black Friday.
What was the average watch time? Because that was a long
Um,
video. It had jokes all throughout.
yeah, so it's a minute 47. I forget what the average watch time was. It was close to a minute. So um, I know we had a lot of people that watched it for a minute or longer. I say a lot. It was 50, 60. You know.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Fair enough.
and keep in mind the video that we did before, the average watch time was 3 seconds.
Yeah, they were.
So yeah,
Yeah, for
gone.
sure.
And so that's Facebook.
Okay.
Instagram, second best, 553 views, 34 engagements, 78% non-followers, hour and
Okay.
35 minutes of watch time. YouTube Shorts. So Facebook and Instagram, we have a following. It's not very big. It's in the low triple digits. You know,
Okay.
um, YouTube Shorts, we have no following, but we got 327 views, 3 comments, 6 subscribes, and a 2.2 hour watch time. So
Okay.
less views, longer engagement, longer attention, longer retention. Um,
Right.
TikTok, now TikTok is kind of gonna get a fair shake on this one because it was uploaded half a day before it went dark, um, and
Right.
and then it's back up and everything. So it was 195 views, 8 engagements, 37 minutes of watch time. So we actually had better numbers last time, organic.
Right.
We paid on TikTok. I think that's going to come back. I think it's going to be somewhere between YouTube Shorts and Facebook. That's just my own thought.
Okay.
X, we had 21 views and 8 engagements. Um,
Okay.
LinkedIn, 20 views, 2 engagements. YouTube standard, 6 views, 0.1 hour of watch time. So 6 minutes, I think. Um, again, we don't have a following, so that kind of makes sense. But YouTube Shorts does really well with trends and keywords. Um,
Right.
I think it's probably the best place for discovery. Now, the caveat to this is, especially Facebook. Facebook did really, really well, but we have a good support system there. So we
Right.
have family and friends that engage with the stuff that then share it and all that.
Pushed it out for you.
The
Right.
other, you know, the other places, the other channels. So Facebook has kind of waited, like it's gonna do better because of that.
Right.
So that's what we got. We're really happy with it from an engagement standpoint, because our goal now is to just continue to be in people's ears every
Sure.
2 to 4 weeks with some kind of new content.
Okay.
And in the middle of that, we're creating more educational content.
Okay.
And there's
And are you posting that as well?
we will be, yes, but it's
Okay.
starting out as articles on the website that will then be turned into long form videos that will also then be cut into smaller
Short
videos.
forms.
So,
I got you. Okay.
um, so there's a long game at this, right? So we talked about this
Sure.
before. We're asking for money, but we haven't earned the right yet
Right.
to.
So let me ask. It's because honest to God, it sounds like you're almost going at it, and I do not mean to be insulting here. You're using like an old school SEO tactic. You're writing the articles, so you have based content. Then you're going to create a long form video that explains everything that's in the article, but using video and audio. And
Yes,
then you're going to take that long form content and cut it into snippets and
yes,
then post those as shorts. You're not creating necessarily regurgitated information from the long form video shot specifically. You're just going to be cutting it into pieces so that if people see it, catches their interest, they go, let me finish watching the rest of this video. It ultimately brings them to the video, to maybe even to the article.
it would be more like, instead of a 10-minute video that explains why, or 5-minute video that explains why fresh coffee matters, or how to make the best French press at home. It would be the 30-second version where it's fast fire, and then not necessarily taking that one video and cutting it up into 5 different videos, unless it makes sense to do that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
So it's
I
not
mean,
necessarily even a snippet of it. It's just a fast paced montage with, if you're interested in learning how to do what you just saw happen, click here.
right.
Okay.
Every piece drives to another piece, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it's just building a web, because the goal is you want to get each of these little things becomes a net. And we've talked about this kind of stuff before,
Yep.
but
Yep.
it's a net. We're just trying to draw people in. So the idea is, I've talked about the buyer's educational spectrum, right? So if someone is, they like coffee, but they don't know how to make good coffee at home, or they don't understand why they can't make coffee like they make at the, coffee shop or whatever, we're helping move those people along the spectrum. That's the goal. Um,
Okay.
and we'll probably even come out with, like a free course if people want it. That's been an idea for a long time.
Right.
It just depends on if people want it. I don't want to make the course if people don't want it, right?
Yeah.
But regardless, like, it's tying all of it together and just trying to get people to, one, see us as the experts, to learn something new,
Okay.
and to then, when they're ready to purchase, hopefully they buy from us because we've done a good job of educating them.
Sure. I think
That's
there's
the idea.
two layers of education you need to be giving people. Number one is how to make the coffee once they receive the beans,
Well, of
and
course.
educate them on the difference in the processing from the beans from growing all the way till when they receive them.
Right.
So the difference between holding a bag of your coffee and a bag of somebody else's coffee, what makes those two things different? Not
Exactly.
just It's not just in the creation of the coffee from those beans, but
Right.
the way those beans were treated and roasted and measured and all of that has to
Right.
happen first. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how good you are at
Right.
brewing or what method you decide to use. Bad coffee beans are bad, make a bad brew. Like
Yeah.
it's
And you can take good coffee beans and make bad coffee with them too.
yeah,
I've experienced that also. You know,
yeah,
um, like, if you don't use the right water, if you use the wrong grinder, you're not gonna you're not going
Right.
to experience the best, even if you
Yeah.
have the best beans. So
Yeah. So honestly, I know you're probably thinking like, there's only so much stuff we can make. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's hundreds of hours of stuff
oh
you
yeah,
could be posting and doing
yeah,
because it goes so deep. Like each layer of education, you're like roasting. Oh yeah, this is how we roast.
yeah,
Why do you roast that way and why is it important? Like once you start doing that, you can do 50 videos just on that.
right,
And but then it's a matter of kind of measuring who's into the roasting and roasting technique. Well, probably people that are really interested in really good coffee.
right.
So I think you'd be speaking to your target market, which I know was I think one of the things we focused on in one of the previous episodes.
Yep.
Um, and anyway, I'm interested to see the the progression of education and entertainment that you guys intend to continue to post.
And that's exactly it. And I've said that over and over. We even said that, like, that's what we're trying to do with the podcast. We're trying to educate and entertain. Hopefully, with the podcast, maybe we're doing a little, like, inspire is not the right word. Um, Encourage.
Yeah.
That's probably the more, um, but I think that's it. If you can wrap up information that people didn't have in a package that is an easier pill to swallow,
Right.
then it's easier to consume that information. If we
Yep.
got on here and we were like, market reports show that this quarter we're expecting this kind, that would, like, I would bash
I
my head
turn off.
into my car when I was trying to listen to that. Like,
Yeah.
so now, so that's kind of the idea with roast of the week. What we're trying to do. I talked a couple weeks ago about us putting together our marketing plan. That's kind of, we're still fleshing it out. You know,
Mhm.
but we're starting with the 5 pieces of content that are the most important,
Okay.
and then we'll start filling in different holes. We'll start doing more and more and more. But it's like, okay, we got to start at you know, the most important things, or the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I think you've called them pillars before.
yeah,
So the 5 pillar that you're going to ultimately then flesh out in order to become arches and the whole thing.
yeah,
Now, speaking of shorts
yes,
and shorter form content videos, um, we attempted last week and we attempted it live on the air,
we did.
to take one of the previous podcasts that we've done and then clip it up into shorts using one of the AI programs. I think it's Opus, using that in order to
Yeah,
make short form videos so that we could post them and test them and maybe get a little bit additional reach,
yeah,
just for discovery of our
discovery,
podcast.
exactly. I think,
And
again, the data that I'm getting, based on what roast of the week is doing, and also how I discover content, right?
right.
Using that actually, uh, this podcast, I think, on X, on LinkedIn, using short clips, I think could be a very, um, not profitable, but, like, a good ROI based on the amount of time we're putting in versus the engagement that we get. Um,
Sure.
I think that's going to be way more than what we would get long form YouTube.
Yeah.
Now, eventually, that would, eventually, long form YouTube, or Spotify or whatever, I think will grow,
Right.
but
But only
that's
after
not the
people
discovery
discover
point.
us. They
Yeah,
discover
exactly.
you, then they start listening, then they get hooked or they bounce. Like,
Yeah,
honestly, I
like,
don't care. I
my
don't want the
biggest,
wrong
like,
audience. I want people that want to listen to us, that will engage with us, that will
right.
talk to us, and give us some input and or questions, whatever.
Yeah,
But there's people that are just gonna listen and be like, I don't really have an interest in a bit. Good, go listen to something else. I
right.
mean, yeah, so I really want to connect with people. I want to use this to be able to connect,
Yeah,
not just sit up on a podium and
yeah,
preach.
exactly. Yeah, I think of it like a panel, right?
Yeah.
So you and I are the people that are on the panel, and we have different people, like, that we can
Yep.
bring in and have as guests, that we can ask questions, get questions from the audience, and that's
For sure.
my vision. And then again, just sharing, like, stories from the trenches.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do
Agreed.
that. So, but I really am a huge fan of YouTube Shorts right now, and TikTok, based on what I've seen, you know, uh, just like a little bit of success in. So we're
Right.
going to be doing this consistently. I'll continue to share results and stuff. But yeah, I think that cutting up the pieces, whether we use that program, that AI program, to do that,
Right.
I don't know. Um,
Right.
the perfectionist in me,
Can't handle it.
I actually, so here's what I really love about it, that program. Like you sent me 10, maybe 10 different
Yeah.
clips. I went, oh yeah, no, that was a good part. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, but I want to stack the the video of you and me bit differently, or I want to do something different. If it was even just like, um, you know, knowing what point in the video to go to grab that 30 seconds, I could build a template that we just had everything all in place and just drop in the live stream, and I could just trim it and export it really quickly. That's probably what I would do
Ultimately end up
because
doing. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, but that's just me being a professional, like
Yeah, and knowing how to do it. Honestly, for somebody
right.
like me, every single thing is 10 things and it's so hard.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't even know where to begin doing that. So for me, it's
yeah.
so much easier to just let the thing do it and then be like, well, I wish it was different, but it's
So, and
still
for me, it's
better
the
than it
opposite.
would
Like
be.
I know the technical side, but I don't even know what we talked about. I don't know what part is interesting, and so
Right.
that's where AI really benefits me. I have used Chat and Claude and a couple other things a lot in the last couple weeks, and it has been great. It's not like just generating content for me, but it is helping me out a lot in like dumb little repetitive tasks or like changing the formatting of certain things.
Right.
It has been very, very helpful. Double checking ideas, you know, helping me, honestly, helping me flesh out my own like marketing strategies. It's like, okay, here's my plan. Ask me questions, challenge me. Here's what do
Right.
you think? You know, and doing that
I
across multiple AI
oh,
models
oh my God.
and comparing and seeing like, okay, well, I don't agree with this, but I do
Uh-huh.
think this one has, I didn't think of that, so
Yeah. No, I love asking AI, please poke holes in my
yeah,
theory, my something. And I poke and then I don't always agree. You're right. I don't always agree, but I appreciate the alternate perspective. And
yeah,
I know it's based on a text only model, blah blah blah, but it's pulling the most likely next word. So it definitely
right.
comes up with things to where you're like, okay, I don't agree with, but that makes me think of this, and then you can go in and change stuff. So it's, if nothing else, a really good brainstorming tool.
And that's it. And I think so much of what I miss from having the marketing agency is that it's two things. It's office culture. We had a great office. You know, it was fun and productive. Like we had a culture of getting stuff done, but having fun doing it. And I'm not saying it
Okay.
wasn't stressful at times. It was,
Sure.
especially when you get a call from a client at 9 p.m. You know, but that was a
Right.
blast. But also the brainstorming part was probably my favorite part, where we would we had two 8 foot long, 8 feet wide whiteboards, and then in
Right.
another room we had a solo one, and we always had stuff on whiteboards. It was constantly being used, and it was everything from like, hey, I need something really quick for blah blah blah, and we would okay, and four people would jump in, five some days, seven other days, depending on who's in the office,
Right.
and you would the idea was there are no bad ideas. There are only ideas that lead to better ideas. So if it's
Right.
cheesy, say it. Great. I mean, I always started with the cheesy low hanging fruit because it usually gets us somewhere else. It's hard to do that when you're
By
working
yourself.
remote, when you're
Uh huh.
working by yourself, and so that's where using AI has really helped me because I need some kind of wall to bounce things off of, some kind of sounding board,
Right.
and again, one of the hacks that I am doing is like we do this. We'll work on something just like this, right? We'll sit
Yep.
down for a couple hours and go through something, and it's like working in an office together, but we're 500 miles apart or whatever. Um,
Right.
and so that social aspect for me is kind of what keeps me sane. Um, but at the same time, I'm also a little too social sometimes, and I have to when I really have to focus, I have to shut everything off and um,
Right.
really, really hunker down and focus. Head down, working hard. Um,
Uh huh.
but anyway, I know I'm lame, and I know I'm cutting us short because there's probably so much more we could talk about, but I really do need to run. Um, what what do you have going on in the next week that we can look forward to put you on the spot?
Yeah, nothing like just pitching me under the bus.
I
Um,
cause I know there's some things you can't talk about, we were talking about before we hopped on, and I don't
yeah.
wanna, like, pull that out of you.
Yeah,
Um,
so I am definitely working on something that we will touch base on again. But this week, pretty much, I'm still working on so my YouTube channel. So
yeah,
been talking to my directioner, Shri, and he said, let's go trending. So this
yeah,
month, I'm doing a bunch of stuff that's Valentine's Day inspired, right? Doing long form. And then what we were doing before is taking it and throwing the long form video into Opus, clipping it up, posting them
okay,
and doing it. And I was getting some pretty good traction with that and I think it's because you can add B-roll and automated stuff, whatever.
yeah,
And Shree's like, dude, check it. Listen, record on purpose short versions of the long form videos that you're
yeah,
making. And he shrunk my long form videos down to like 5 to 8 minutes. They're much, much shorter. And my short form content now is like a minute 40.
okay,
And that's it. And it's punchy, like bam, bam, bam. No space for breaths, no nothing.
right,
Like if you
right,
watch those, man, it just goes straight from boom, 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 boom. Um, but I'm trying that. And so it's getting a little bit better. It's getting a little bit easier and
mhm,
I'm liking it a little bit more. And I've noticed that when I do it, I'll shoot the video, I'll clip it myself, I'll post it and do it. It's okay, but I lose people in the first 6 seconds, even when I'm
right,
trying to use the hook.
right,
Um, so what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up telling him what I think my hook is, sending that to him. He's going to send me like a month in advance. We're already working on February now because I finished all the no, we're working on March because I already finished all the February stuff. So he's in the process of editing, getting ready to post it. But we're already writing the list for March stuff with
okay,
what we think will be trending at that opportunity. Then I will write out my scripts, send them to him, and he will go, this isn't going to grab their attention as much as this would. And then send it
right,
back to me and then I'll do it. Because I get so caught up in the thing I'm trying to say that I it's hard for me to focus on how to say the thing in a way that makes it more like that whole let me tell you what I'm going to tell you just like you always told me to do.
right,
Let
right,
me tell you what I'm about to tell you. Then let me tell you what I told you I was going to tell you and then let me repeat what I told you I was going to tell you.
right,
Okay, that's so much for my brain to have to think about. I'm just like, guess what? If you want to do this, here's the 5 ways to do it. Boom, 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 boom.
yeah,
And Shri is like, that's not how you do it. You say, wouldn't you like to know how to be able to do dun 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 dun?
right,
Follow for more reasons why. And let me now teach you how. And then
yeah,
people go, oh, and then they want to. I just hate those people and I hate that content. Like if I watch that person's channel, I'm like, F off. If you're not going to tell me what you told me you were going to tell me in the video, forget it. Like
right.
I don't follow those people. So I just I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around the idea that my market isn't me.
Well, here's the thing, Aaron, there are 2 types of people.
There are people who get it and people who don't get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are people that are enticed by a hook like that, by just, like by a cliffhanger, and there are
Hmm.
people that just makes mad. You might be one of the people that just makes mad and you're not gonna subscribe, but there's that other type of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go after that segment, right?
Yeah. So maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
I've tried to go after that segment and they're not finding me. And if they are, they get bored and they click off.
Well,
So
I think that
uh,
shooting your shorts or writing your shorts to be more purposeful, like you were saying, purposely on purpose, I think.
yep.
Um, I think that's really smart, especially in the space that you're going after, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, you know, what I personally wouldn't do with roast of the week is if we had a I don't know, this is like a ridiculously long video, but if it was a 10-minute video on how to make, great espresso at home, I wouldn't take that and chop it into 3 separate little videos, right?
Right.
I would take it and I would make a one video that was just boom, 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 got everything in there, but it was just the steps and it wasn't all the stuff in between, but it was enough that it was like, okay, wait. I missed something. I want to see the longer version of this. I want the explanation. Um,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, I saw them do that. I saw them grind it, but what grind did they do? Well, in the
Right.
long video, it'll explain that. And then how
Exactly.
hard do you pack it? Oh, that explains that. How do you,
Yeah.
yeah, all of those things, I think it would make sense to the right audience.
Yeah. And so like with Niche, the website company, it would be something like, okay, here's the long article, and this long article has 6 different points in it about, you know, some things that you can do as a restaurant to engage with your online following, right?
Yep.
And then each point has a statistic. So I might just make a short about that one statistic, and it's
Right.
15 seconds, but it gets their attention, and they go, "What? 62% of people does what?" You know,
Right.
that kind of content. So hey, to each every video, every type of video is going to have a different format that you can shrink it down into, you know. But I
Right.
think that you're doing the right thing by being purposeful with those videos.
Yeah. I'm testing.
Yeah.
I'm testing it right now and just seeing. So
Well,
interesting. Okay. I know you got to go. So let's
yes.
wrap this up.
So I'm working on an outro in my head.
Okay.
So bear with me.
All right.
And this is dumb.
Try
It's
it.
cheesy, right?
Okay.
But all good things. There are no bad ideas, right?
At
Even
least not
cheesy
yet.
ideas lead to better ideas. So
Right.
what I wanted to say is until next week, mind your business.
Oh, I don't hate that.
It might get better, but
That
just saying.
sounds
We
a
could start
little
there.
assholish, but you
Yeah,
know, but
I'm
I
okay
think it
with that.
fits. Yeah, I think it fits. Yeah, so yeah, mind your business.
Yeah, until next week, mind your business. Later.
All right, bye.
Bye.